Well, I'd like to thank Frank for inviting me out tonight. One of the things I definitely like to talk about is animal control. It truly is something that, we've grown into a really good, solid thing for the animals. And it wasn't always that way. And I'm not going to stand up here and tell you that it was, because when I first started going down there about 8 years ago, there were a lot of problems. We were never as bad as what you read in the paper and all the things they said, A lot of allegations were made, but there were never any charges filed, or, we weren't that bad, but we weren't very good either. And one of the things I decided to do, one of the first things we decided to do was, we were part of the problem. We were adopting out animals that were fully intact, which means that they could breed. And a lot of our target audience at the time, the folks demographics that were getting animals from us, really didn't care if they bred or not. So this was a huge problem. So one of the first things we did at the old spot was we had this trailer. I saw it one day, we were going to sell it at an auction. I thought, you know what, maybe I can convert that into a surgical suite. So we took a long, hard look at it, had some contractor friends come in, they laid it out, and we did. We turned that old construction trailer, when you see guys meeting it at a job site, into a surgical suite with the lights, the sterilized water, everything you can think of in a surgical suite, we did that. So our veterinarians started operating on all the animals, and since then we have not adopted out any dog or cat that has not been spayed or neutered, unless they're under 2 pounds. But then you have to sign a contract with us that you'll bring it back, and if you don't, we come and get it. So all the animals now are being altered. One of the things, start off with, animal control is a very small part of what I really do. I was hired by the county to be in charge of all their buildings and properties, and we have a lot of them. And telecommunications and things like that. And oh, by the way, you get animal control as well. I don't know why it's there, but it is. And it was one of the biggest challenges I've ever had, but by far one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. The numbers of animals that come into the building really hasn't changed. It's been consistent, the same amount of animals. The one thing that has changed, when I first started going down there, when we first hired Christine Fothery and myself, we started working together as a team. We were adopting out 344 animals a year. Last year, 7 years later, we adopted out 2,046. So we have done a lot of things really well lately. And then again, like I said, that wasn't always the case. Upon arrival, let me explain what animal control is supposed to do by law. We are the only animal control facility in the state, dog pound is what technically we're called, that takes cats. No one else in the state takes cats at the dog pound. We're the only one. We did that for several reasons. There is a serious cat problem in this community, in most communities. Ferals, strays, whatever. We decided to try to get proactive and start vaccinating these animals, and spaying and neutering, and see what we could do is find them homes as best we could. Pardon me?
Do you do spay, neuter, return?
Not yet, but that is something that I'll talk about in a second.
Hear the question.
Trap, neuter, release is what she's really talking
Yeah.
about, and that's something I'll talk about. It is truly the only answer to this problem. But it's extremely difficult, and it's a huge undertaking, and it's very expensive. But I can tell you that it truly is the only answer. It's not an answer, but it's the biggest fix. You're always going to have this situation. We'll get to that in just a second, if you don't mind. So, start going down to animal control. Like I said, we were part of the problem. Our number one goal is to protect people from animals. That's what we do. The Humane Society protect animals from people. If you want to keep it, that's very simplistic, but if you look at it that way, you can tell what the two agencies do differently. But that doesn't mean once we have the animals in our charge that we shouldn't be as compassionate and caring and as humane as we possibly can. So we started working together, Christine and I, we sat down, we started writing policies and procedures that didn't exist, and we got a vet tech on board full time as fast as we could. We got, and I can tell you the county council with Frank helping us out, without them we couldn't have done any of these things. Because how government works, especially in a council, mayoral kind of thing, which is what we have an executive and a council, is we suggest and they fund. And if they don't give us the money to do these things and approve the financing, then we can't do it. So the county council worked really well with us, and that wasn't always the case, and rightfully so, because they were hearing a lot of things early on that was really bad about animal control. And there were some things. And I'm not going to ever deny that, because there were. So we just kept plugging away, kept working, and we ended up, our numbers just started going up, our adoptions. We started vaccinating upon arrival. When a dog or a cat comes into the building, it gets vaccinated, it gets dewormed, it gets defleed, and then it gets examined by our veterinarian. We don't give it a rabies vac right off the bat, because only the veterinarian by law can give a rabies vac, but the rest of the vaccinations our folks can give. Many of our employees, they're all trained, and it's perfectly legal, so we do that. But they're all defleed, and then they're evaluated by the medical staff. And if you have not been to the new facility, I would encourage you to come down. It's down on Opportunity Parkway. You know where the food bank is? We're down by the food bank. You know where Locust Street is? Akron General Hospital. Akron General, yeah. We're right down by Akron General. Actually, Locust Street.
City Hospital or the...
General.
Oh,
By downtown, yeah, Akron General. You would turn left on Locust, and it turns into Opportunity Parkway. Come down, take a tour, see the facility. Our medical is second to... It's as nice a facility as there is in the state of Ohio. The citizens of Summit County can really be proud of the facility. And it is the only truly green facility, which means we put...
What's the address again?
250 Opportunity Parkway.
250 Opportunity, 25.
We put a lot of effort into making this building as energy efficient as we possibly could. And I can show you some features and stuff that we did down there as well. We're using about 10% of the water that we used to use at the old building, and our building is about 2.5 times bigger. So we really, and if you can see that system that's in place, it's almost like if you go to a spray car wash, very similar to that. It's called the Spray Master, but it's very water miser. I mean, it's very efficient. So, we moved into this new facility. We built the new facility. We built it green. We started doing all these things. I'm sorry?
Is there a bus that goes there?
Yeah, there's buses that run up and down.
Which one?
I don't know which one. You'd have to look up Metro. Yeah. So we started, like I said, we vaccinate them upon arrival, we deworm, we deflea. We have a volunteer program, if anybody's interested, that we never used to have, where people can actually come down and walk the dogs, play with the cats, whatever. The facility, I would encourage you to come down. It really is second to none. I mean, there isn't a better facility in the state. And if you look around Summit County today, as far as being an abandoned, stray, unwelcome animal, unwanted animal, there is no better place to be. Between what we do at Animal Control, what the nice people at One of a Kind do, the shirt she's wearing, Lisa Holland Toth, and the nice folks there, and the Humane Society with their new facility, and the fine staff that they have, up in Twinsburg, and the fine staff that they have. The animals are being cared for now better than they ever were. So we were button heads, as Frank knows, trying to get this new facility built for years. We couldn't find a location, and it was much political as it was anything else. The old executive and the old council did not get along. And then we got really a blessing for this community when Russ Pry was appointed to your county executive spot. Two things he did right off the bat. The first one was, and it was almost disgraceful, and Frank, you can testify to this, the way we treated our veterans in this community. There's people coming back from wars who were injured, who couldn't even get into the Veterans Services building with a wheelchair. It was not handicap accessible. So the services that they needed and fought for and lost limbs for in some cases, it was really difficult for them to get in. And that was the first thing that Russ did. The second thing was Russ realized we had this serious animal problem here, and that he worked with the council. Like I said, they fund everything. Without the council, we can't do anything. They got together, they found this location, they bought this building. My department renovated it, because that's mostly what I do, is buildings and property, and then we ended up moving in. Like I said, I would really encourage you to come down. We have been truly as progressive as any other animal control organization in the state, because the one thing we really do feel now, and I'm not 100% sure it was always the case back in the day, is that these animals, their lives have been placed in our hands, and they deserve to be treated as humanely as we can possibly do it. So we vaccinate, like I said, we deworm, we deflea, the medical staff evaluates, we have a treatment facility. In We have a first-class surgical suite and a medical section that all the treatments that the animals might need. Our veterinarian has a private practice, so if we need to ship them up for x-rays and things like that, we can do that. These are things that weren't happening in the past. Our numbers have shown our successes, really, by the adoptions. People want to come to us to get their animals. We're being referred to by friends. That was never the case in the past. One-of-a-kind pets, Lisa Toth was not a big fan of ours at all. Last year, Lisa probably took 500 cats from our facility and found homes. This is something that would not have happened in the past. We have really reached out. We're continuing to reach out. We got involved with a program called, with PetSmart Charities, called the Rescue Wagon. And what that does is, we had to go to Colorado to be trained at their expense. They trained us in behavior and what to look for and aggressive behaviors and stuff. And we evaluate the dogs by all these criteria that they, food aggression, dog-on-dog aggression, people aggression, how well it behaves, and it has to get A's or B's. And if the dog gets A or B's, you can transport it then on their wagon. They'll actually take it from our facility to a place that doesn't have the severe dog overpopulation problems. In New York and New Jersey and Pennsylvania, there are places that actually take these dogs, and we transport about 20 dogs a month that way. But these are part of, again, the progressiveness that animal control is trying to keep moving forward with. Our adoption programs, our volunteer programs, we're always looking for new people. We have new people coming down all the time. We're walking the dogs now and stuff. We have employees who are walking the dogs. That wasn't always the case either. I can tell you that at the end of the day, when I hang up my hat, that one of the biggest accomplishments that I'm going to be most proud of is the changes that we were able to make down there and do for the animals. I mean, from $344 a year to 2,046, and every year it's gone up. So we're hoping to have a new record this year, be over 2,200, and just keep those numbers of adoptions going up. One thing was asked about, and I'll touch on this briefly, and I'll sit down so other folks can talk. If you want to know more about what we do, I'll leave my cards or whatever. You can call us. You can come down for a tour. We'd love to show you the building, show you the animals, maybe even take home a new best friend, or refer people to us. Our costs, we lose money on every adoption. We keep our costs low because we want the animals to be adopted. I'd rather adopt them than euthanize them. And unfortunately, we still do have to euthanize animals. That's just something that we do. We provide that service to the citizens. If you have a sick animal, a dog or a cat, that your vet says should probably be put down, we charge $25. A vet might charge $125. So this is a service we provide to citizens that's being done every day. Our people do it exactly like a vet would do it. So it's very humane. I mean, very humane. Very humane. And they're really compassionate and stuff with the animals. So, trap, neuter, release was mentioned. We formed a Summit County Animal Coalition with us, the major rescue groups, Paws and Prayers, Paws and Pride, One of a Kind, the Humane Society. We were able to secure a grant for $56,000. We spay and neuter well over like 1,500 cats. That was the tip of the iceberg. We're looking to do that more. In the past, Akron was very resistant to trap, neuter, release. I can tell you that all the studies show it's the only thing that works, because what happens is this. If you take 10 cats out of a colony, and you adopt them out or you euthanize them or whatever you do, 10 more will take their place because there's a food source there, okay? And the colony will only survive by how big the food source actually is. So that's all they can do. The numbers will die off on their own. If you take the whole colony and euthanize them, another colony will move in and take their place. The vacuum effect is what they call that. Okay. If you take that colony, trap, neuter, spay, put it back, and move on to the next big colony and do the same thing, the numbers will eventually, the animals will die off on their own because they can't reproduce. And it's a very tough life for these animals on the streets. All the research shows, 3-4 years for feral cats. That's about it. Some do better because people are feeding them and taking better care of them and grabbing them every now and then, getting them shots and things like that. But that's not the norm. That's the exception. But you have to do this all over the place in order for this to be effective. Because if you just take them out and you just euthanize them or adopt them or whatever you're doing, more will take their place. You have to just get this colony as much as you can, 90%, 80%, whatever, trap, neutered, release, put back, avoids the vacuum effect, and then you move on to the next big colonies. That costs money. These are things the coalition's working on right now. Akron used to be very resistant, but I think they're really starting to see that this might benefit them. So we're working with some folks right now with the Summit County Animal Coalition. We're going to put together some proposals and see if we can't get some serious grant funding to start doing some of this TNR. And if we can get that going, I think we can start to diminish some of the numbers in a very humane, effective way, rather than currently what we're doing, which is it's not going to solve the problem. So I gave you a lot, and I appreciate you giving me the time. I want to say one thing before I sit down. I want to talk about Frank for just a second. Frank's always kind.